Do you feel so insecure in your relationship that it's almost uncomfortable to be in at this point? I've been there personally. I'm going to be discussing my own personal story throughout this video. But more so than that, I'm going to be discussing anxious attachment styles in men specifically and why they differ from anxious attachment styles in women and what men specifically should be doing to overcome these problems. My name is Paul James. I'm the founder of Bedlamite. We are a male mental health and wellness platform where we look into holistic and all natural remedies for various conditions. If that's something that interests you, I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube channel. And more so, I invite you to check out our website where we have a lot of information on how to overcome various conditions through holistic means. So what is an anxious attachment style? Well, as the name suggests, it's when you've developed an attachment to someone and that attachment is causing you a lot of anxiety. I think the most universal trait of this is clinginess, and that can appear in a number of different ways. Maybe you're constantly looking at your phone to see when they've texted you back, or when you're with them, maybe you're constantly looking for reassurance that they still love you and they still feel infatuated by you. Naturally, such behavior can have a negative impact on both parties of the relationship. For you, it's likely causing you a lot of stress. I know when I was in it, it was causing me a lot of stress, and that resulted in a number of different things. I was losing my hair, and my acne was getting worse. Stress just has so many negative effects on our health. But for your partner, it's likely they feel smothered by you. They likely feel overwhelmed by you. And that can go one or two ways. If they love and care about you, chances are they want to reassure you. They want you to feel safe and comfortable in the relationship. But at times you feel like your presence feels too much. You're putting them in a position almost where it's difficult for them to navigate the relationship because they are likely feeling like they're doing the right thing by reassuring you when you need it. But by constantly doing it and seeing that you're going nowhere, you're still anxious no matter what they do, it can also it can make them feel like a failure. But the other side of the spectrum is you might be pushing them away. Your clinginess might be a turnoff to your partner, and it's pushing them away. Maybe that's why you're watching this video now. Maybe you're in that situation and you're researching how to potentially save that relationship. But either way, you want to address your anxious attachment style. And in order to do that, you need to look into the cause of it. And it's very likely that you have a fear of abandonment and you're afraid of your partner abandoning you. And the reason you have this fear, there's a number of reasons you may have it, but it usually stems down to one of two potentials, which is you experience childhood trauma, maybe a parent abandoning you, or you were in a relationship and you were abandoned in that relationship. In my case, my anxious attachment style was caused by the latter, where I was in a long-term, almost decade-long relationship, and she suddenly up and left, and I was on my own. And this was something that was personally difficult for me to process, in the sense that I had felt like I had done so much for her, and for her to just suddenly leave me, it just felt very... it just made it really difficult to trust women. Yeah, it made it very difficult for me to trust women going forward in my dating life, and I carried that with me for a long time. But the important thing for me, and the important thing I guarantee for you, is I had to address that. I had to address my fear of abandonment, what she left me with, and I had to move forward so that I wouldn't carry those fears into my next relationship. And I'm going to discuss how I went about that. I'm going to discuss what I did to overcome these fears and feel safe in my current relationship. But before we get into how to properly address anxious attachment in men, I want to mention one thing that I guarantee your therapist won't tell you. And that's that men with anxious attachment styles are often a turnoff for women. And so why are they a turnoff? You're showing strong signs of insecurity. You're showing insecurity in a relationship, and if you're insecure in this relationship, you're likely insecure with yourself in ways and with the world at large. And if you're insecure with the world at large, it's going to be very difficult for you to lead a woman in that world. And that's what women are ultimately looking for when they get involved with men. They're looking for someone to lead them on a spiritual level, on a societal level. I mean, this is why, we're the ones that plan the dates and choose what we're going to eat for the evening and things along these lines. Not having to make these little choices, being able to fully rely and trust on a man really allows a woman to put herself in her femininity, and that's what turns them on. But if you're showing insecurity and you're showing a lack of ability to lead, you're showing that you need reassurance, that you feel a clinginess towards her, and that you're the one that's afraid she's going to leave, she's very likely going to think that she could do better. And I'm saying this entirely from personal experience. About a year after that decade-long relationship, I got involved with someone, and this was when I realized I had developed an anxious attachment style. I didn't realize it when I was single. I didn't realize until I was so intimately involved with someone again that I had an anxious attachment style, and it was appearing in ways I'm embarrassed to admit right now, especially on camera. But I was doing the double texting. I was looking for reassurance. I was just showing those signs of insecurity, and ultimately I was afraid of being abandoned again, like I was in my previous relationship. But the more I showed these fears, the more I saw I was just pushing her back and I was pushing her away. And it's okay to not realize you have an anxious attachment style until you get involved with someone. In fact, you likely won't realize you have it until you suddenly care so deeply about someone and you do fear losing the love they have to offer you. When it comes up, it's very important to recognize that and this isn't all women, but a lot of women are turned off by it, and it's a difficult thing. It was very difficult for me to look in the mirror and admit to myself, hey, this attachment style you developed is turning this woman off. It's pushing her away, and it's making her not want to be involved with you. And overall, it's damaging to your masculinity as a whole. You're not showing yourself as a masculine man. And I had to walk away from that relationship in order to one, recognize these things within myself, to be able to look in the mirror and say you're dealing with this, and to two, properly address them. So how did I go about addressing my anxious attachment style? Which, I'm currently in a relationship, and I definitely feel it at times, don't get me wrong. I definitely feel it coming out at times, and it's not 100% gone, but it's improved significantly to the point where I feel a lot more secure in myself. And so what did I do to overcome this? Like I said, the first step is identifying the cause. And once you've identified the cause of your fear of abandonment, you really want to analyze why that happened. So in my case specifically, and this might differ for you, but I realized I was often making my relationship a priority. I was often putting it before my purpose in life. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of men are doing this because it took me a long time. It took a lot of studying and research and soul searching to really understand why my purpose in life was so much more important than any relationship I found myself in. Women can come and go. I don't really have much of a choice in whether they want to stay with me or not. Their decision in staying with me or in leaving me is ultimately based on a feeling they have. And if their feelings are telling them, no, you shouldn't be involved with this man, then I can't do anything about it. That's just how it is. And so this is, me coming to this understanding, me coming to the understanding that I really don't have any control, I guess you could say, in a relationship. And I don't have any control in how a woman feels about me. Ultimately led me to understand that I need to put my focus where I do have control. And that control is in my purpose, my direction in life. This is a big thing with anxiety too in general. A lot of the time what makes us anxious are things that are beyond our control, and that's why a relationship can make us anxious, because it is beyond our control. You can't control another person. You don't have control over another person. And the fact that you don't have control over those emotions is what's making you anxious. You're scared that their emotions may switch on you, or that they'll start moving in another direction that doesn't agree with where you see yourself heading with that person. And it is a scary thing. It's always a scary thing to get involved with someone, but it's just a fact of life that a relationship is almost like a gamble. Love is almost like a gamble. And when you take that gamble, the best thing you can do for yourself is put your focus where you can control, and that's in yourself, and that's in your purpose in life. This mindset shift of mine ultimately led me not necessarily to not care, but to just be less concerned with the direction I was heading with a woman I was dating. Because it didn't change the fact that I was still on my path in life. I was going in my direction. Nothing can stop me from that. Not a single thing can stop me from that, except myself. And just knowing that I have that guide in my life makes me feel so much more secure with the person I'm involved with now, because there's nothing she could do that could tear down this direction I have going. And I think that's important for men to have. I think it's very important for men to have that direction. Now, the details of that direction, this is where it's going to differ from man to man. For me personally, it's a very spiritual thing. It's a very God-driven thing. I'm very much directed by my relationship with God and what I can do to improve that relationship with God. For you, your direction might have more to do with your career. It might have more to do with certain things you're doing within your community. There's a lot of different ways to go about direction. I personally always recommend people look into the spiritual side of things, namely because that's where I found a lot of peace of mind when it came to other areas of my life, not just relationships, not just a direction in life. I feel like I overcame depression through my spiritual practices. And I feel like I overcame a lot of my generalized anxiety through these practices as well. Ultimately, though, you want to stop seeking validation from your significant other. And you want to start seeking validation from yourself. When you need reassurance, you want to go to yourself for that. When you maybe have doubts about what's going on in your relationship, you want to turn to yourself and say, no, this is going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine because I'm on my direction in life. I'm heading where I need to go. Anyways, if this is a topic you'd like more information on, we have a blog about it on our website where we go into a lot more detail about just some of the research and therapeutic tactics you can take in order to overcome this. So I'll leave a link to that in the description below. But other than that, until next time.